Tonight, the city of Lagos
There is still a poor level of
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west, and around Africa. We break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV News.
24-hour news station.
Over 11 months of ASUB strike, 81 days of Bring Back Our Girls, and of course some 3 days of resident doctor strike in Nigeria. It seems to be a very gloomy time for the nation Nigeria. It's Core Digest, and I am Ebulomo Adekunle. Of course, earlier we thought we would be talking about the strike, but we have a slight change in plans. And of course, we'll be talking about the national confab okaying 18 more states in the country. Already we have 36 states as we are as a nation. And joining me today on the program is Barrister Lekan Alabi. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, Abby.
Yeah, and thank you for honoring our invitation.
You are welcome.
First, let's talk about these many strikes. How, as a nation, did we get to this point that strike has become the order of the day?
Well, the core issue for the justification of any government is welfare of the people and the security of the people. But in a post-colonial state called Nigeria, what we have been having is that the few are taking care of themselves at the expense of the large majority number of people in the country.
But you know, in the history of Nigeria, strike has not actually brought up the expected solution. Picking up is a suspended strike. Are there no other means than making our voices heard and strike actions?
The other means is good governance. The other means to avoid strike is good governance. The Nigerians, they see their so-called elected officers in public places, in opulence, junket, the world, with public funds could not make ends meet. Of course, we are very lucky in Nigeria that Nigerians, we are governing people. If we were to be in another climate, I think strike wouldn't have been the solution to the Nigerian problem.
Okay, let's quickly move to the creation of 18 states in Nigeria. The approval of the 18 states on the floor of the national confab, right step in the right direction for Nigeria at this point?
They have not said anything new on the issue of creation of states for Nigeria. They have not said anything new. If you, I need to take you down memory lane that the first ideological analysis on the issue of state creation was in Wilson Commission of 1957 that submitted this report in 1958, that in order to alleviate the fear of the minority, the state must be created for the minority in the country. Because 57 and 58, that was the colonial period, they realized that there are major ethnic groups in Nigeria, that in the south, in the west, and in the east. But Wilson Commission now came up with an idea that in order to alleviate the sovereigns or fears of the minority within the heterogeneous society of Nigeria, there must be a creation of state. And the first state that was legally created was created during the First Republic, Midwestern region. After the creation of Midwestern region, Gowon created another 12 states. After the one done by Gowon, Babangida created state. After the one done by Babangida, Abacha created state. However, the creation of state and the reason for the creation of state are opposed to the fundamental reason why states should be created. Because the state that was created in the First Republic by Tafawa-led government, it was a Midwestern state out of Western region. And the purpose of the creation of that state was for political reason, in order to weaken the influence of action group government, which was an opposition government to the national government then, in order to weaken its strength and to reduce its space, then the Midwestern region was created from Western region. That was the first state that was created by the democratically elected government. The state created by Gowon was to weaken the agitation for secession from the Federal Republic of Nigeria by Ojukwu government. And the state created by Babangida and Abacha, we knew, was to legitimize their power and to have hold on onto the power by military oligarchy. So there's nothing new. And the purpose of state is to bring government near to the people. However, the moment that the state is created, the majority has been becoming minority, and the minority have been becoming majority in terms of appropriation, and distribution of wealth. And how do I mean?
Yes.
I said that, get me clearly. I said that in terms of creation of a state, minority has been becoming majority, and majority have been becoming minority in terms of appropriation and distribution of wealth. You know, the poor people, you and I were in large number, and we're supposed to be the reason why the states were created, so as to bring government nearer to us. But the moment that the states are created, the satellites of the custodian powers, they now become majority in terms of who gets what.
Before we get to the issue, because you are referring to corruption at the moment, if we talk about the creation of states as it concerns minority groups in Nigeria, going by the languages present in Nigeria, we have, if not above 250. And if we begin to look at minority groups, are we saying we should continue to create states in order to suit every minority group in the country?
I said that the genesis of state creation was as a result of a Wilson commission, on the way Nigeria should apply its federalism. I'm not recommending that they should continue to create state. As a matter of fact, I will never be an advocate of state creation, because under the first, when we had in the First Republic, Nigerians and Nigeria were far way better than the way we were today. In the First Republic, we have Western region, we have Eastern region, we have Northern region. In the First Republic, we had the Premier of Western region, the Premier of Eastern region, and the Premier of Northern region. But now, in Western region now, or Southwest, as they call it now, we have 6 governors. We have 6 deputy governors. We have 6 chief judge of each state. We have 6 speakers of the House of Assembly. And all these apparatus of state, all these structures of state, they have not improved the lives and standard of living of Nigerians the way the Western region, the Northern region, and the Eastern region improve the standard of living. As a journalist, I will refer you to 2 or 3 weeks ago when the Northern region, or the northern part of the country, that used to be Northern region, took the federal government to court, demanding for the money that the Federal Republic of Nigeria owe the Northern region then. That was then. Under Western region, the civil servants under Western region, they were earning more salaries than the civil servant at the level of the federal government. The Western region, under the Chief Simon Edebo, are the best civil service system in the whole Africa, under Western region. But what can we say about these people today? Our hospitals have collapsed. The public university system has collapsed. We cannot compete with anybody in the world. The so-called leaders, they junked out of the country for medical tourism. So there's no hope at all. And the essence of the governance, which is welfare and security of the government, of the people, have been eroded.
If you say that you're not
remember that Walter Rodney used to say that how Europeans underdevelop Africa. But now we are now moving to how Nigerians are underdeveloping Nigeria.
If you're saying you're not in support of state creation, and you also said earlier that the essence of state creation is to bring the government close to the people, of course you have reservation for the governments of the day. But then, if these states are not created, how else can the governments be closer to the people, leaving aside corruption?
The state that we have today, they are enough to take care of Nigerians. The state that we have today, they are enough to take care of Nigerians. The reason why there is clamor for state creation is that in Nigeria we just pick money from ground. We just lift oil, sell it, and we now buy refined products. Because our refineries are not working. Then go to Abuja at the end of the month, cap in hand, and collect your own share of the cake. So people just want to continue to participate in the sharing of the cake, and not the real people. I mean the custodian of power and their satellite across the country. So that is essentially the reason why there is clamor for state creation.
We're talking about 6 states here, and according to delegates at the national conference, we're talking about creating one more state for the Southeast for equity and fairness. And you know, recently we even had a failed attempt to secede. And of course, we've known of the Biafra war and all of that, but we're not going there now. Is it about pleasing a set of people? Let's assume this. I know you do not agree that this state creation is done in good faith.
Yes.
But just in case these states are born out of sincerity, which I hope the national conference delegates are hoping for, the creation of states, what should be at the back of our minds? Is it about being fair to geopolitical zones, or just creating states to actually consider the minority groups in the nation?
Well, the issue here is, to me, it's not about geopolitical zone. The state should be created upon the genuine demand by the people, upon the genuine merit that some people, they really deserve another state. But it cannot be justified because we don't know, our population census is faulty, because these are indices that you have to know how to create a state. You consider the population, you consider the resources, you consider the sustainability of that state. These are the things that they're supposed to consider, no balancing or geopolitical zone. That's the reason why I'm saying that the people are not important to them, but what is important to them is power. Because before you consider the creation of state factor, you have to look at, is this state, is it going to be sustainable? What is the population of people in this state? What are the genuine reasons why the state is supposed to be created? And most of these states, having been created, most of the people in the state, they don't live in the state. They move to the city where their bread will be buttered. So the resources that now come from the center, the few elites and their cronies, they will just share the resources. That's the reason why the issue of bringing government nearer to the people is very elusive in Nigeria. That's why I'm saying that whenever the state is created, the minority always become majority, and majority always become minority in terms of appropriation and distribution of wealth of the state.
Let's talk about that appropriation. As it is in Nigeria, we have even appropriation problem as it concerns the natural resources found in each state of the state, of the country rather. This creation of 18 new states is in a bid to solve a problem, a minority problem that we have in the country. If these 18 states are actually created, how do you feel we can deal with the appropriation problem we're already facing in Nigeria, considering the wealth of the nation? When I say wealth of the nation, the resources we have as a country.
Because it also goes down to the issue of putting the cart before the horse. Because they create state first, based on the resources that we are sharing today at the level of the center. But what we're supposed to do first is to have a true federalism, that we have two federating units in the federal system of government, the federal government, and all the state of the federation. Instead of the state to make contribution to the center, reverse is the case. It is the center that is giving the state money. So if we have grown our state, that each state work for the resources, and now making a token to the center for the servicing of the federal government, I know that the agitation for creation of state will have been drastically reduced. Because if there's no resources for you to sustain the state that you want to create, you won't bother to create any state. But now, they believe that there's money somewhere. Having created the state, they are very sure that the money will be coming at the end of the month. That is the reason why most of the states they are crying. When the monthly allocations were not regular again, the state started crying, except a few states. So why must we embark on what is not sustainable? Why can't us first of all grow our system in such a way that we are going to have true federalism? Each state look at where the area of your strength, where you can try to develop Nigerian economy. The people in the agrarian place face your agriculture very well. The people in the north, they look at the area that all the states in the federation, they have natural resources, but all those resources are untapped because Nigerian elite, they are decadent, they are corrupt and unimaginative, and they now face a single resources,
but
which is black gold.
If we're talking about the issue of true federalism where the state has to give to the center, you will agree with me that not every state is well proportioned in Nigeria. You mentioned now that every state has the resources to sustain itself, but when you go to some states in Nigeria, you also mentioned the fact that there is this mass movement from some places, states in the country to other states because of resources, because of availability of jobs. But if you are arguing for the remitting of resources from the states to the federal, do you think the nation as at this time can sustain that kind of government?
And that is, it means that we go back to the true federalism I'm talking about, which means you have to plan your resources according to what you have. It's not that somebody will sit down in Abuja and now say national minimum wage, and all the states in the federation will have to follow suit. So that you plan your resources, the resources of your state, you look inward. And that is where people will be able to have mouth in governance. That is how people will be able to vote for the people that they believe that they will be able to represent their interests and try to grow the economy. That is how people will be able to be participatory in the economic of the state. Not that because some resources are coming from upstairs, so who cares? Unlike before, that the regions, they really work on what they had. The western region work on cocoa and palm oil. The eastern region work on palm oil, while the northern region work on wool and all that. And the economy was buoyant. The economy was good. And I still maintain what I'm saying, that there's no state in the federation that does not have natural resources that can sustain it. And when I'm saying this, I'm not saying that the state should have an arrogance of power by saying that since we are self-sustained, that the federal government cannot do anything to us. But the center belongs to all of the states, all the states in federation. So, but now, some people are looking at other part of the state that they rely on them. That other part of the state, they are lazy. Other part of the state, they don't want to work. Other part of the state. So, we need a dynamic leadership that's going to mobilize the resources of every part of the country so as to have a good governance, so that the issue of good governance is not going to be elusive. What I have presently in Nigeria is government of misgovernance, with due respect.
But it has been said that a government deserves, a people deserves the kind of government it gets. These people are from among us.
It's a process. The issue of change of society is a process. We have started the battle since the colonial period. From colonial period, we fought what Kwame Nkrumah called the white men in black skin. And that's what we have been fighting since. But one day, Nigerian people will take their destiny to their hands in putting the people who really represent their interests in power. But it's a process. It's a process. And the so-called democracy that we have now, you know, people are saying that we had democracy, but really we had civil rule before, but it has now developed to electrocracy. Even we don't have civil rule again, we have electrocracy.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Lekan Alabi. It's Core Digest, and we'll take a break in a short while. We'll be back with you. Don't forget, we have news on the hour at 10, and Mr. Alabi will still be here with us on the other part of Core Digest. Thank you for being there.
Thank you.
Nigerians continue to travel the city of Lagos.
There is still a poor level of...
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west and around Africa. We break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV.
A 24-hour news station.